Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Adele Kirsten. I work with an organization called Gun-Free South Africa, and I've worked in the field of small arms control since the early 90s. And a particular good afternoon to the honourable members. I want to thank the Civilian Secretariat, as well and particularly the Portfolio Committee on Police, for inviting Gun-Free South Africa to be part of these discussions. I think it was quite a bold decision and move to bring all of us together in the room and to try and grapple with what are some of the solutions. What do we know that works? What are we doing wrong? What are we doing that we keep on repeating and there's no evidence to suggest by the very nature of what we're discussing? And the topic for this panel is strategies to reduce the circulation of illegal guns. And so my focus will be narrow. It will be specifically on how do we do that? What are the things that we know works? So I guess in a way just to acknowledge that, and yet to acknowledge that we understand that firearms violence is one part of the violence in this country. But it's a significant part, and that's why it requires this kind of attention. So I'm going to focus on three strategies to reduce the circulation of illegal guns in South Africa. And they are interdependent, and they speak to each other. It's preventing diversion, mopping up the illegal pool, and closing the leaking tap. About making sure that we reduce gun violence, and that we reduce the number of people affected by gun death and injury. And that's my vested interest, and Gun-Free's vested interest. That's why we're part of this conversation. And I will show, in looking at the three intervention strategies, it will become obvious about the link between the legal trade and the illegal trade. And for people who survive gunshots, and for the families whose members are killed by guns, it's actually fairly irrelevant whether that gun was legal or illegal. It doesn't make a difference. The point is, they've lost a loved one, and I think we need to remember that. A whole lot of different drivers, different constituencies, different perpetrators, different victims. But, as been said by others, we need a multi-pronged approach to this issue. So let's look at the first strategy for intervention, and it's called preventing diversion. Diversion is a term that we use in the small arms control community, and basically preventing diversion, all it means is how does one stop guns moving from the legal pool to the illegal pool? So we know that the majority of guns across the world are legally manufactured. And across the life cycle of a gun, there are opportunities for diversion. Does that thing up? It's a lot of detail. I'm not going to take you through it in the detail. I'm using it to illustrate that at the global level, this is kind of cycle is civilians, the bottom is state security agencies such as military and police. The broken arrows, all they demonstrate is that at the institutional level or at the procedural level or at the kind of structure that's part of the legal chain, there are opportunities for diversion. There are opportunities for guns to move from the legal to the illegal trade. And in the center is the whole lot of misuses. And the numbers aren't in order. They're about where are their particular interventions. And you'll see a lot of it is things like some of the brokering agreements that have been agreed at the UN level, the arms trade treaty, etc. So that's the global picture, to give you some understanding of the link between legal and illegal guns. To the firearms control management chain in South Africa. So we developed this matrix, and what we did is we looked at where all along the chain are the opportunities for diversion. I'm going to need to turn my back to you. So all we've done, and this is not comprehensive, we identified 4 of the kind of central institutions. This is part of our institutional framework of controlling weapons in this country. the Central Firearms Register, the accredited firearms training institutions, your police stations, and your gun dealers. And what you see there, so let's look at the gun dealers. We've identified what are some of the processes that happen at the gun dealer level. So of course it's the point of sale. Gun dealers are required by the Act to maintain registers, etc. So that's reduced the risk for leakage. And I guess one of the reasons is the structure helps us understand where the potential is for diversion, and therefore it gives us clues for intervention. And how do we close the loopholes? And this is, so that's the fun picture that we enjoyed making. But this is not just a graph in our head that we've worked out. Yesterday, the headline in the Star, most of you would have seen it, is "This is real. Cops, guns linked to gangsters." Okay. So we know that the key institutions which are responsible for preventing the diversion of weapons from the legal to the illegal are involved in corrupt and fraudulent practices, whether it's at the Central Firearms